Welcome to your doom.
Oh, you got this out of Portland.
Yeah, I bought that.
Good old Portland.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story? So when I was going to start working at Portland, I was talking to my boss, and he's like, "I need you to go work in Maine," and I'm like, "That's cool." Or no, he goes, "The project was for the state of Maine," and I'm like, "Cool, okay." I didn't really connect that he was talking about like the actual state of Maine.
Oh, what did you?
I don't know what I thought.
Like
I thought
the
it was
word
like
Maine, like Maine
yeah,
man.
I
like
just
Maine?
thought Maine man, Maine something.
Yeah.
I'm just like, whatever, cool. He's like, yeah, first you'll probably fly into Portland, then just go from there to whatever the city was. I still can't remember what it is. And I'm like, that's dope. I love Portland.
Bangor?
No, it wasn't.
Or you flew into, you mean?
I flew into Portland, and then it was somewhere just outside of
okay,
Portland.
okay.
I never remember it off the top of my head. Like, I went there pretty much like fucking full time. But
Yeah.
in any case, I forgot where I was going. And when my former boss told me about that, I was like, that's awesome. I love Portland. He's like, yeah.
No.
And then I started thinking about it, and then I was talking to Nish about it.
Yeah.
She's like, you do know that when he says state of Maine, he means the state Maine. Maine. Portland's not Portland, Oregon, you fucking moron. And I'm like, oh.
But actually, I like Portland. When we went out there, Shilpi and Anish are out there, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we went to visit them in the fall. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was amazing. And like we went to, this is Shipyard.
Yep.
And there's a ton of other breweries there. It's definitely like it's a very like stylish and like trendy. It's super trendy.
Yeah.
Like there. So we had a really good time, and I think I'd love to go back. Like I think it's. I thought it was great.
Right. It was Augusta, actually. That was I had to think of the hotel we'd stay at, and then immediately it popped in my head.
Yeah. Well, what was I gonna say?
I don't know.
Shit.
I did have another Portland story, though. So basically, Portland, I ended up screwing up my dates when I was traveling out there. And typically, whenever I travel out there, I'd always go on Sunday, get in Sunday night. That way I could be right fresh and early on Monday, be at the office and do work.
Yeah.
And then I would fly out Thursday.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat different. Most consultants would just fly in on the Monday.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of bent over a little bit for that one. We're like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not a big sacrifice. And personally, I liked it better. That way you're not in a rush on Monday.
That's right, yeah.
You get to sleep in a bed. You just it's chill. Well, I screwed up because I actually came in on the Sunday that was Super Bowl Sunday. Nobody else was coming on Sunday except for me.
Oh,
so it was just me by myself. And I'm like, well, fuck. And then instead of driving to Augusta, I'm like, well, wait, why don't I just stay the night in Portland? It could be fun.
Yeah.
Holy shit, it was fun.
Yeah.
I was bar hopping by myself, making bars, making friends in bars.
You're making bars and friends.
It was great.
Yeah.
Some girl hit on me, and her opening line was like talking about how I eat chicken wings, and I was like, that's horrifying, because I'm like, I'm just there probably eating like a goddamn savage.
Are you a cartilage guy? I can't remember.
Oh, I get in there, man.
I clean them up.
I barely, the bone isn't even safe with me. Sometimes I've bitten in and I'm like, I'm chewing bone.
Yeah, I know. I do that. Like I clean them up. You could make a necklace out of the bones that I leave. Like that's, I have very little respect for people who just they got just bite the middle.
Yeah.
And there's a clump on the end and there's a clump on the other end. I'm like, when you get 8 of those.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other chicken.
Yeah.
That's still there. It's a lot of meat.
Well, every 4 wings is a chicken when you think about it. How many chickens have to get butchered for 12 wings? You need 3 chickens.
That's right. But I mean, if you leave the clumps on the end, I feel like it's a whole other chicken. So
no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying the economy of chicken wings.
Oh, sure.
You start thinking about it. It's kind of crazy.
It's a lot of life lost.
Well, it's not like they just take the wings and well, done with that, and they throw it away. I don't need that carcass.
Like shark fin.
Oh my god!
I saw some. Do you see that video Jason Momoa posted on his Instagram? But there was these Icelandic fishermen that fished a shark, and were just cackling like maniacs and cut its fins off and threw it back in the water. And the one guy's like, "Now try swimming." You said something ridiculous.
Horrible.
I'm like, wow, that is it's horrifying, and it's posted on social media with no understanding that there could be repercussions to that.
Yeah.
It's that's legitimately,
It's a
a
horrible...
homicidal behavior. Like
Yeah.
it was actually kind of terrifying
It was horrible.
to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't actually do an intro.
No.
This is all good conversation.
No.
So I'm
Yeah,
keeping
yeah.
it in.
Dude,
What's up, folks? How you
What's
doing?
up? What is up? My name is Atul,
I'm Justin.
and this is the Welcome to Your Doom show. This is it's been a little while since we've
Yeah, the
done
last
an
episode we banked, so yeah, we haven't actually sat down and done one.
That's right, yeah. So, because like we had the 1 month where we did kind of 3 like really, really close succession. It was Hellboy, Shazam, and there was one just before that. What was before that? Was
Infinity War.
Endgame. Yeah. So we banged those ones out, and we kind of took a little break. I mean, it's playoff season. And a lot of people are just watching a ton of basketball.
Basketball? They get blasted and watch basketball.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm rocking my We the North Toronto stuff. This is still We the North, yeah? Yeah, We the North. I got the finals hat on that Nisha got. I didn't take this off because I think that's supposed to stay on.
That's what yours. That's
the
what
under
the kids
one
do.
goes.
That's
but is this
the
supposed
top,
to stay
no,
on?
The top is supposed to stay on. I don't
Is
know.
it?
The shiny sticker.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I don't know. I feel like that's what all the kids are doing these days. So I think you're all right.
You gotta stay,
all right.
try and stay young.
Yeah, stay trendy.
I'm fucking dying inside.
But yeah, so it's been a lot of basketball, even for people who don't really watch basketball like me. So
you had more comments on the DJ the day that you actually went to a game than you did the. What is this guy playing?
Yeah.
Dude, you're at a fucking playoffs game.
Yeah. I feel like it's a licensing thing. Like they were playing songs because they only had the license for. I don't know what it is.
A lot of shot
But it was
player.
No, not even. Not even. They were playing songs from like the early 2000s, like when I was going to university
True.
or like late high school. Like that's what they were playing.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's how old those fans are.
Yeah, that would be
now.
my
Like
guess.
maybe that's what they're like catering to those fans
Yeah.
who now have that disposable income.
Yeah.
That can come to these especially finals games, which cost a lot of money.
Yeah. Disposable, like all of the income.
Yeah,
It's
apparently now.
Dude, like tickets. So Nish and I, we were about to go watch game 2, and for some, when I say about to go watch, we were going to go to a bar and watch it, like 30 minutes before tip off.
Yeah.
And she's looking up tickets. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, even if you find tickets, we're not going to go there. Like, I'm not going to pay, because tickets, we were looking it up, it was like $2,200 for a pair. And I'm like, I'm not going to pay $2,200 for 2 tickets and miss the first quarter.
Yeah,
like,
that's nuts.
There's what, 48 minutes in a game?
Yeah.
48 minutes of playing time in a game. Factor that against how much money you're paying. How many dollars per minute?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's totally nuts. But this town is in a full-on like Raptor fever.
No, let me correct you. This whole country is on straight up Raptor fever, and most of the states are in straight up Raptor fever. I saw
Really?
demographics in the states. Like there was basically a map of North America.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Mexico is part of North America. Is North America Mexico? It is, right? It is. Okay. NAFTA. Good. Anyways, we all know my geometry is
Your geometry.
great, but my geography is not. See how I salvaged that? That was I managed to catch it before it went really off the rails.
Oh my god.
God damn it. I'm still hungover. Okay.
Ugh.
Listen, let me get back to my geography. So, everybody basically had a map of Canada and the US.
Yeah.
And all of Canada was just basically blotted with the Raptor symbol, but
Yeah.
every other state in the United States, not to be confused with another place with states, had Raptor symbols across every single state except for, I think it was, obviously California, and then there was one next to it. It might have been Nevada.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess so. We got some Americans rooting for us too, right?
Most of them are. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, basically for the last 5 years, the Warriors have been a dynasty.
Yeah.
And it's gotten kind of boring. As soon as
Yeah.
Kevin Durant joined their team, it became just so lopsided that things were no longer interesting.
Right.
I mean, I will say this. The last most interesting finals that I've ever seen was when LeBron basically, he was on the Cavs and they were down 3-1. Like
Yeah.
the Warriors had them basically on the ropes. And LeBron, as basically a one-man show, I mean, everybody else on his team played exceptional.
Yeah.
But he was just, he was doing so well. He was exceeding everybody in points, rebounds, assists, fucking probably steals too. Like, he was leading across all categories and on his team, and I think maybe even on the Warriors. Like, it was just nuts.
Yeah.
That was the last interesting finals I've seen. After that, as soon as Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, it became so one-sided. It was no longer fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. And again, I'm not a Raptors fan, but all you guys are. Most of my family is, so I get all the news and the analysis.
You've been a good sport about it.
Whether I want to or not. No, I enjoy like when people are getting together and being social. It's like it's fun.
Right.
So it's been an interesting time, but like because of that, because like it's just been a complete whirlwind for the last few weeks. Like, so we're kind of back on it. We have game 5.
Game 5's
Game
tomorrow.
5 is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So there's, people are all you're making plans. Everyone's making plans for tomorrow to go see the game. So it's fun. It's good. And I think this city is just making a tremendous amount of money right now.
Yeah,
just like
it's good for the city.
The amount of like transactions that are happening is just like it's crazy. It's really good for the city.
And as a basketball fan, these finals, I mean, I'm somewhat biased in the fact that my team has been winning in the finals so far.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's way more interesting basketball because the thing about the Golden State Warriors is you can never count them out.
Yeah,
They are like 3 3-pointers away from like taking your 10-point lead and squashing it.
Yeah, sure.
And they're a good defensive. Like they're a good team with or without Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
It's just that their other guys haven't been showing up, and but because of that, things have been close. Because it's the Raptors and them when they're both at their prime.
Yeah.
They're both pretty close.
Yeah.
But I think the Raps are better if they're playing at their peak. It's just the Raps don't play at their peak all the time.
Right.
So it's been great. Like it's been really good basketball. It's been good fun. Like for like you said, the group for us for
getting
everybody.
folks together and
absolutely.
like the only downside is when they lose. I can't get anybody to crack a smile.
Hey, this guy.
Yeah. You were all right.
I don't get that emotional about it because I didn't.
But the other
especially
guys
that.
do, right?
Your
like
brother's a sad sack. Amit, if you're listening to this, you need to cut that shit out and just let it go. You're not playing. I love you.
It's a lot of emotional investment. Anyway, that was the end of our basketball podcast, and we're going to start the Welcome to Your Doom show now. First, a word on the beer that we're having.
Yes.
There's a brewery in Scarborough called The Common Good. It's a nice little establishment. I very much like going there. And this beer I got from there is a partnership that they did. They were asked to brew something, and what it is, it's called It's Been a Slice.
Yeah.
And it's where they take bread that the shelf life is coming to an end. Well, basically, like that documented shelf life is getting close, and they haven't sold the bread. Otherwise, it's all going to go to waste. So what they do is they basically take it and they brew this beer from that bread to make sure that it gets used. So it's actually really nice. And when you buy this bread, this beer, which is
basically
that
bread.
It's liquid bread. When you buy the beer, some of the money goes to, and I wish I had the can with me right now, but there's a company or like a nonprofit likely that does that type of recycling stuff. So for food, and it's pretty good actually. I'm kind of enjoying it. So
it's anything but common, but exceeds good. I was thinking about that for a while. That being said, I had that thought, and then you told me we're basically drinking expired bread water. So, but I don't take it back. This is actually really good beer. I think it's really good. It's a lager, I'm assuming, right?
Expired bread water.
Expired bread water. No, this is good.
That's what they should put on the can.
No, I don't think so.
There's your advertisement right there.
It's just like a moldy can. They managed to they just like deface some of it so it's like scratchy and gross on the outside. No.
Look, it doesn't taste.
We were advertising it really well in advance, and then all of a sudden you just said, "Hey, moldy bread water." They basically take garbage and they make beer out of it. No, I'm just this.
Oh my God!
I don't think that they would be doing something like that.
No, absolutely not. And
this
it's
is
for
really
a good.
beer.
It's for a good cause,
Absolutely.
and like it's making sure it gets used, and it does not taste anything like it. It actually tastes very, very good.
No, it's exceptional. I like this a lot.
Yeah, so Common Good.
Go after.
Yeah, Common Good at Warden Ellesmere, and maybe we could just put something on the show notes.
Hell yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't advertise the beer if it wasn't like good. This is really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So we're gonna use this episode as just kind of like a catch-up episode. Like we've seen some stuff, some news. No movie or comic or video game to review today explicitly. We just want to catch up.
Do you want to have a line for that?
No.
Good.
We're gonna go right into it right now.
Sing
it.
It's been a while. I don't remember what the Mega Man theme sounds like.
Oh man, get out of my house.
I'll play it. It's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
What do you got? You got a topic you want to talk
I got
about?
some stuff. Let's just talk about this DC streaming service for a second.
Okay.
Swamp Thing. Really, really excited to watch that. And first piece of news that came out was that they basically closed production down and chopped off 3 episodes or 3 episodes, I think, from the series. So it went from 13 to 10. I'm like, hey, that's cool. A lot of the doom and gloom headlines were coming out about the show, and then the advertising. Oh, that's the other thing.
What?
That we need to mention, that if you haven't already noticed,
we may need to pause. I don't know if a lawnmower going off is
yeah,
a good fucking
we're
thing
we're
for a
we're
podcast.
definitely we're definitely outside trying to record this place. This is a really nice day, but we do have a lawnmower going off. How does it sound in the?
It doesn't sound great. I think
Doesn't
we should pause and come back to this after the man has manscaped his lawn.
He's doing that to himself.
He's like very hairy.
He's just standing there. His wife is just like running the lawnmower over his chest.
No. Lawnmower stories are too personal for me. When we come back, I'll talk about my lawnmower story.
You have a lot of stories. You got like Maine
tons,
stories.
man.
You got lawnmower stories.
I'm thinking of doing stand-up.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to pause this for now and then we'll come back. All right, we're back.
We're back. Yeah, so we are recording outside, as you guys have already found out. It was just too nice of a day to be inside, and we just like take the chance. So you might hear some wind blowing. Some of my neighbors are out. Family's having a good time. Somebody just finished cutting their lawn. So ignore all that.
Yeah. Somebody's murdering somebody.
Somebody has a door slamming in the background. Yeah. So back to what we were talking about. We're talking about Swamp Thing. So 3 episodes cut off of the first season, and the doom and gloom headlines came out about, just like why and all this speculation. Then they started advertising it. And the trailers came out, posters came out, and I was just like, kind of just erased those headlines in my mind because it just looked so good. It looked exactly like what I wanted to see. Swamp Thing has been treated like a horror character in the DC continuity for a very long time, and it just looked so damn good. You know, like in my opinion. And I'm a big horror guy, as you're gonna find out, because I got a ton of horror stuff to talk about today too. But so I was really excited. Show came out to great reviews too, and that's another thing where for a TV show I do a little more review searching because it just takes so much more time. It's like 13 hours of your life as opposed to 2. So people seem to like it. People that I trusted, on certain websites, certain journalists seem to like it. And then first episode aired, I think, on the DC Universe app, and then the DC Universe canceled the series.
Yeah.
And there was just massive amounts of confusion, like why? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then a few headlines came out that I read. I'm not up to date. I feel like it's still churning out there, but there was something about a tax credit.
Yes. In
Louisiana? Was it not Louisiana?
It might have been
North Carolina. Yeah. Sorry, they're shooting in North Carolina. So, do you know more about that?
I know a little bit more. There's a guy that I worked with at DreamWorks for a time who was actually under the name of the VFX Soldier. He was like anonymous for a long time, and then he came out as being this, this guy, Daniel Lay. I mean, you say VFX Soldier, people in the industry that know that person. At this point, he's maybe infamous. I don't know.
Sure.
But sharp guy. He's a good guy. Anyways, he's somebody that's been talking about companies basically doing a bunch of stuff in certain countries, or basically taking work out of usually the big VFX hub is really California. That's where movies get made for the most part. I mean, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And because of all these tax credits that all these places are offering, I mean, Canada does it a ton. That's why there's a lot, the CW does most of their shows in Vancouver, because Canada incentivizes that and gives them back money for that.
That's right.
That's right. And I guess these companies like DC, or I guess Warner Brothers, are actually relying on that.
Sure.
And it sounds like that they just fucked up something.
They just, I feel like it was just some, accountant or, a producer who was gathering the money and crunching all the numbers, just made a mistake.
Yeah, and they were relying on another $40,000 that just wasn't coming.
Not $40,000.
Sorry, $40 million.
It was
that wasn't
$40 million, and that is not
it's
insignificant.
Not a small chunk of change.
And
it sounds like also half their production budget.
Exactly. I think it's also why this show, and I haven't seen an episode. I'm just talking about the advertising material. Swamp Thing himself looks amazing. The suit looks amazing. Like the production value seems to be very high on the show, whereas something like Titans, for example, which is like a fraction of the cost, doesn't look nearly as good.
No, it doesn't.
And again, this is all from promotional material, but so that really sucks because I was really looking forward to that. And now there are headlines coming out about like potentially Warner Brothers reworking the DC Universe application and just that streaming service, because Warner Brothers themselves, I believe, are going to come up with their own streaming service. So none of this makes a lick of sense, to be honest.
And actually, I just pulled up an article in Forbes, and one of the things, I've got to read this article, so this might have all, I mean, that was heavily reported, but it also said there was some dust up, this is quoting Forbes, there was some sort of dust up that had to do with the show shooting in North Carolina, where WB was promised more money than they got from the state due to some sort of error, but further reporting seems to say that they'll get the money they're owed anyway, and that this cancellation had nothing to do with the North Carolina situation.
Wow, weird.
So maybe there's something else going on.
I did read another thing where there were two opposing creative choices that were being made. There was someone who wanted the show to be like a week-to-week like a police procedural versus a more sort of dark, horrific story. So it's it may be just a combination of all that stuff.
Maybe.
But it's really interesting because I've never actually seen this happen before.
No.
This is the first time I've ever read anything like this, where like the show pilot, I believe the pilot came out first, and there are a lot of people, positive reviews, people really excited, immediately got canceled.
Yeah.
It's a very, very strange series of events. Really unfortunate. I'm really excited to watch it.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my next point. With, if I want to support it, we lowly Canadians cannot access the DC Universe application.
No.
The only way I saw Titans was because Netflix Canada released it after the entire series was out.
Right.
I've been waiting for Doom Patrol.
And
I don't know how to watch that show, and I don't know how to watch Swamp Thing. It just doesn't.
We'd have to look it up. So Doom Patrol's, I think it's on Sci-Fi or Space.
What?
Like,
really?
I think so. So we'd have to find out whatever streaming service in Canada has that content. Might be Crave.
But I thought they had an exclusive like deal with Netflix or something.
That's what I had thought, but maybe not. But maybe.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe I just need to do more research.
Titans
but like, how does like
for a while before it actually went out into, it was at like there was an entry for it on Netflix, but it didn't actually come out on Netflix like months after. It didn't come out on Netflix until months after it was released on the DC streaming service.
Right. So I mean, it's not obvious how Canadians get access to it, and I'm not sure how other countries, how they're handling distribution to other countries, but it's not obvious how to get, because I'm really excited about Doom Patrol. Can't see it. Yeah. I mean, and I want to be able to support these shows, but I can't. I actually can't find a way to do that. So that really does kind of suck.
Space. So Doom Patrol is on Space. So I guess we'd have to figure out.
We have to subscribe to Space.
Well, wherever. I don't know if Space is on like Crave or one of those.
Oh, I see.
You know
services?
what I mean? There are streaming services out there. So I guess. I mean, it looks like they're available. Dude, we can watch them on Space. It looks like they're right here. We might have to have like a Bell login or something like that. It's like how I watch TSN. I log into my parents' Bell account because they have cable, and then I'll watch Raptors games on tsn.ca.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm streaming it right now. Check it out. 48-minute episodes. Granted, I'm on episode 11 and I'm jumping forward, but it looks like it's a full episode. Space go.
Weird.
Dude,
okay. Well, there
it
is.
Watch that after.
Yeah, we should definitely check it out.
Oh, I just unplugged the thing. It's just the audio or the headphones.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I would definitely. So now we know where Doom Patrol is. Now we just got to find out where Swamp Thing is.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, that's kind of like the latest thing that happened there. I have a few other things here. I don't know if you had something.
I mentioned it to you. One thing that I've been looking out, and I think people should check out because I think it's a fun YouTube series that I've seen so far, and it's educational. Like if people are interested in VFX and kind of how CGI is done. There's a group of three guys, and I don't know where they work. I'd have to look it up. I'll put a link to their channel on the show notes. But they basically, it's VFX artists react to whatever types of VFX. So it's good, it's bad, and they're giving like they're basically.
Are they taking scenes from finished films?
Yes.
Okay.
So like for instance, the one I watched today, they were reviewing some of the stuff in the Matrix.
Okay.
Which they raved about.
Yeah.
They talked about Superman's CG jaw.
Oh, like the mustache.
The mustache
gate.
Yeah, mustache gate.
Yeah.
What were the other things that were cool that I saw? They did Pacific Rim. So they talked about Pacific Rim and how amazing the first one was, and then how dog shit the second one was.
Oh, okay.
In terms of how they handled like. And the thing is, like, it's not just a couple of people. Like, it's not just a few people just going whoa and woo. They're very smart.
What?
I don't know.
What shows do you watch where it's just a bunch of people
Have
going
you seen
like
reaction
videos?
videos?
Why are they all like Dracula?
No. What I mean is, it's not just people basically just spouting off their opinions.
Oh, yes,
like
yeah.
uneducated
Oh,
opinions,
sure.
or
Sure.
just whatever. It's them like.
So
saying,
they know something about it.
They know a lot
they
about
know a lot
it, and
about
they'll
it,
talk about, like, for instance, they were talking about like with
Do
Super.
they do freeze frames? Like, do they stop
They
and
do
be like,
freeze
look
frames.
at
They'll
this?
go frame by frame.
Okay,
Then they'll go into like so when they were doing the Matrix, they were doing the bullet time thing. They were discussing that and how revolutionary it was at the time.
Yeah.
And then they started showing the behind the scenes footage with the cameras that go around.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were talking about not only were they talking about what the cameras were doing, but it was interesting that when they were planning out the shot, they in order to put the right amount of cameras and at the right amount of distance from each other, they had to know the speed that they were going to do it.
Oh, okay.
So like they're like,
All right.
okay, for the
I
Trinity
remember this,
kick
yeah.
one, they would have to do a lot more because they were ramping up in a certain
All the way around,
But
yeah.
Neo's might be a little bit different when he's doing the bullet time, lean back thing.
Yeah.
But then they were talking about Superman and the jaw thing, and they were talking about like they were saying why it looked janky.
Yeah.
But they were also like they would go into fine detail and be like, first of all, I'm trying to remember that, but basically a big thing was like the corners of his mouth weren't stretching and compressing the way that skin typically would.
Yeah.
Like it looked like a hack job.
Yeah, it did. It did. I remember.
It looked like a hack job. I think when we reviewed Justice League, I didn't think it was that horrible on screen. But then when you're looking at it later, and especially on a smaller screen, it doesn't look great.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the moment, if nobody told me there was something going on there, I probably wouldn't have noticed.
Chalk it up to something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. I didn't. It wasn't a focal point for me,
No.
but it's something that was at the back of my mind. I can't remember if we mentioned it on the actual podcast or not, but it's definitely something where I look. I think especially in that sort of phone footage at the beginning of Justice League, I think that's where it's actually the most janky.
Yeah,
it's at its jankiest, if you will.
Jankiest,
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's one thing I would recommend, and it's really good. Like,
What's it called?
It's just VFX artists react to something.
Oh,
If you
okay.
look that up, you'll find it.
Sure,
But like I said, I'll look at I'll look it up while we're talking. But what else was I going to say about that? But it's like I said, it's really good from an education perspective because they'll talk about not only like they'll talk about lighting and shadows and how you can make things look more realistic, doing having different choices and making sure it matches the environment that it's in.
Right.
They'll talk about other ways they would have done or approached the situation that was trying to be done there.
Right.
They had a really cool one about what's the character's name from Gladiator? Proximo, I think. The guy that owned the slaves.
Oh yeah,
owned the Gladiator.
Oliver Reed.
Was that Oliver Reed?
Yeah, he passed away.
He passed away in the middle of that. There were shots. First of all, I never knew until this day, or the day that I saw him talking about it, that he had died. I didn't. I didn't know much about Oliver Reed.
Yeah,
Still
yeah.
don't.
No, he's definitely a big actor, but not from our era.
No.
Like he was from like the era before us. Like my dad, like knew who Oliver Reed was. Bob, like my uncle, Uncle Bob, yeah. He knows Oliver Reed very, very well. But he's been in a lot of prestige pictures. I think the last scene is almost entirely CG where he dies. Yeah. Because he's like, they intercut a few scenes of him holding that wooden sword, and they did some crazy, I don't know what they did. I remember watching the special features on the DVD.
Yeah.
And what they did there is very similar. I feel like it was similar, but not as bad like as The Crow. When they did like that mirror shot in The Crow.
There was a couple.
There was like, I was like, I could tell something was going on, but I couldn't.
The most
put my finger on it.
Shot from The Crow was when he, what was it? It was just after the makeup scene, and they had this like shot where he was like he's in darkness in
Yeah.
the window,
Yeah.
and they had the camera that pans out from out the window, and they had a couple of shots of lightning that lit him up, and that's when they did like a face replacement on that. So they just basically comped his face onto that. That looked janky.
I thought isn't there a scene in The Crow where he smashes a mirror and he's looking into the mirror and the shards of glass are like
they're broken up.
Yeah,
and
they're
it's
broken
him
up.
in pain, but it could have been from, I think it was actually from when he comes out of the grave, so they reused that footage. But back to Proxima, they did something like that with him too. So there's a moment in the film where he's watching I think it was the Battle of Carthage, or I think that's what it's called, and he's leaning forward, and there's sun coming through this window that has a bunch of like holes in it, and it's projecting onto his face, so you can see like the shadows of this very specific window.
Yeah.
They designed a set around at least this is what they propose. They designed the set around when at the end of the film, when the guys were coming to basically take away Maximus.
Yeah.
They designed the set around having the windows kind of be like that. They dropped the brightness of that shot that they had of him at the Battle of Carthage, and they made it look like it was basically the same shot, him leaning forward, looking out to see the soldiers coming. But it was something that they had just reused from earlier, and it was neat the way that they did it. So like, they go into details on that. So I ended up looking it up. You can find it. It's VFX artists react to bad CGI, and they're numbered. And the YouTube channel is called Corridor Crew. So I'm enthralled with it. I think it's great. So I certainly recommend that.
Cool. Yeah, we should check that out. Sorry, I was just checking Gladiator to make sure it was in fact Oliver Reed.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I just, I had a panic attack there where I'm like, wow, I could be remembering that wrong, but there it is. All is well. So yeah, something that I've been listening to a lot. I've been listening to a couple podcasts. It's basically, this is like a bunch of horror stuff I've been doing because I've recently decided to really close some of the gaps in my in what I've seen. When it comes to horror, there are a lot of classics I haven't seen, a lot of cult stuff I haven't seen that are constantly mentioned. I bring them up from time to time, but I kind of know of them and I know what their importance is, but I've never actually seen them.
Okay.
But I have started listening to a podcast called Shockwaves, and it is a Blumhouse podcast. So all these guys who work for Blumhouse have this horror podcast, and it's three hosts maybe. Ryan Turek is one of them, who was a producer on Halloween, 2018.
Yep.
And I'm not going to try and remember all the names. I shouldn't even said that one if I couldn't remember them all. But they're all really great hosts, but they're also involved in the movie industry. So, like I said, Ryan Turek is a producer, but he's also directed documentaries. The woman on the show recently did something called All the Creatures Were Stirring, which is this Christmas horror movie that I'm hoping we get to do Drinking Skeletons episode this year around Christmas time on that, and it's a Shudder exclusive.
Oh, beauty.
I think so. I was really excited but when it came out, I just didn't have the right time to watch it, and so I'm basically going to wait until December this year to watch it. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Sweet.
So writers, directors, producers, so you get a lot of insight into the process, along with some really unpretentious banter about horror, from these guys who actually help make these movies.
Yeah.
So some people think that I have weird deep cut horror, or not even horror, just recommendations for when it comes to movies or books or whatever, or comics or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just listening to these guys and the shorthand in which they talk about these cult movies and these man, I'm scratching the surface at this point. There is some shit in here where I'm writing down recommendations that come out of the show.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things that I've heard about on the show. There's 2 books that they were reading that they all raved about. One's called Fantastic Land, and I can't remember the other one, The Haunted Forest or something. The Haunted Forest is this crazy premise where a forest pops up completely haunted, but it's like Jurassic Park. They make a theme park out of it, so you could take a ride through the haunted forest.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that sounds great. That's really interesting stuff. So, yeah, Shockwaves, great guests. So the first hour is usually just what they've seen and what they've read, and they're talking about that. And then the second hour of the show is a guest they bring on. So they brought on, the 2 guys, the co-directors of Pet Sematary, for example, or Joe Bob Briggs, who oddly enough, is the next thing I'm going to talk about. Because Joe Bob Briggs, this whole idea of closing the gap on cult horror films, Joe Bob Briggs is this guy, and I showed you a little bit of what he had going on.
Yes, yeah.
He's basically, I really like watching this guy. He basically created this persona a long time ago, I don't know exactly how long ago, to review exploitation and genre films. He basically just, you're watching the movie with him. So that's kind of his shtick. He's like, he introduces the movie, and then as the movie goes on, he intercuts himself into the movie to talk about it, talk about some facts about the movie. But he's also really, really funny and really intelligent. So he's got like a massive, massive following, and I've heard about him in the past. But Shudder revitalized his show, so now he's got a show on Shudder.
Nice.
And so I'm actually experiencing these cult classic horror films that I wanted to close the gap on, but I'm watching them for the first time with Joe Bob Briggs on his show. Nice. It's called The Last Drive-In.
Yeah.
So so I've seen 2, and I'm in the middle of the 3rd one. So I saw a movie called Chud, which is Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers.
It's a good name.
An interesting thing here is that in the movie, the Jordan Peele's Us, when the little girl's watching television at the first shot of the movie, she's watching television about the Hands Across America thing.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of videotapes on the sides, and one of them is Chud. For reasons that we don't need to get into now, but it becomes obvious later in the movie why that's there. Next one is Castle Freak, which is a Barbara Crampton, Jeffrey Combs joint. Jeffrey Combs absolutely knocks this one out of the park.
Who's Jeffrey Combs? I know that.
Jeffrey
name.
Combs is the Reanimator. You wouldn't know that. The guy who does the voice of the Question on Justice League.
Yes.
And he does the voice of Brainiac in Injustice 2, which I think is frankly just amazing.
Good cast.
His voice work for Brainiac in Injustice 2 is perfect.
Yep.
And that, some of these have like, they're really exploitive. Like they have some mean-spiritedness to them. There's some shit in there where you're just like, oh, that's it's a bit tough to watch sometimes, but like they're cult classics for a reason.
Yeah.
The one I'm in the middle of is called Q the Winged Serpent. It's as good as it sounds.
Right.
And it's
the
directed
sequel to Puff the Magic Dragon, I guess.
Yeah. It's directed by a guy named Larry Cohen, who is this amazing cult horror director, producer guy who I've never seen any of his movies before.
Oh, okay.
So, Q the Winged Serpent, I'm having a lot of fun with that movie. It's really good, but all of this is very fun. So Joe Bob Briggs is like really filling in the gaps, making this accessible to people. So if anybody has the desire to see some of these like cult movies, check if they're on like one of check if one of those movies are an episode of Joe Bob Briggs. Because it's actually fun to watch them for the first time with Joe Bob, which I think people watch Joe Bob after they've seen the movie, typically. But
do you call him Joe Bob or do you just call him Joe? What would be the better with
I feel it's Joe Bob.
Joe
I feel
Bob?
like it's because he's been on a couple of interviews. Postmortem with Mick Garris is another horror podcast that I listen to, but also Shockwaves. I feel like they all call him Joe Bob.
Wait, Postmortem?
Postmortem. It's another podcast. It's run by a director named Mick Garris who did the Shining miniseries.
Yeah.
He also did Bag of Bones. He's done a lot of Stephen King adaptation. He did the TV the miniseries for The Stand.
Oh, okay.
So he's pretty talented. He also like co-wrote one of the first drafts for Hocus Pocus. So he's got a lot of horror cred.
Cool.
And so his show is very, very good as well. I really enjoy it. He's a very humble guy. Again, really a lot of insight into how to make these horror movies and stuff. So
yeah, no, when you said Postmortem, I was like, wait, I thought you said Joe Bob was doing them now.
Sorry.
That's why I got confused.
Postmortem is the name
podcast.
of the podcast.
Gotcha,
Sorry,
gotcha.
I was going a little fast there. I don't want to bore people too much with all of this horror podcast, cult movie stuff. But yeah, that's kind of like what I've been doing on the movie front. I have a few other things here, but maybe you want to jump into something.
Did you check out that episode of Love, Death, and Robots I sent you?
The werewolf one? Yes, I did.
What did you think?
Oh, I loved it. It was great.
So my brother and a couple of his friends were the ones that recommended Love, Death, and Robots to me, and I just slept on it for a while. It's been on my queue for a long time. I just haven't jumped into it, and then I was like, let me look at the first episode, and I looked. It's like 15 minutes. I'm like, oh, they're all shorts.
No, sure, yeah.
All right, I'll check it out. I was so blown away by the production quality of the animation, by the story, by the voice acting, everything. I was so fucking blown away. I was just like, I am watching all of this right now. I didn't. I still have a few more episodes to clear. But anytime I've got like 10 minutes, like even like during a work day or something, like sometimes you just need like a 10-minute break, go down and get a snack. That's perfect to throw on. Yeah. You know, it was so good.
It was very, a friend at work also, recommended, he was like, I watched Love, Death and Robots and you think you'd like it. Yeah. So I looked at it, I was just running through it and I saw one with and the thumbnail was the werewolf. And I'm like, yeah, done. Okay, so I gotta watch it. So I watched it, and I'm like, wasn't disappointed. No, at all. It was actually really, really good.
And they were referring to them as dog soldiers, which made me like just go nuts. Yeah, like, yes,
that's right, that's right. And then I watched the first episode about the fighting the monster ring fighting, basically, which had really just a hell of an ending. Yeah, and I also saw another one which was about these farmers. In the mechs, and again had a cool ending to that one too. So, I've been pleasantly surprised by what I've seen so far, and I'm probably gonna watch the rest. Yeah,
and it's great too because every episode, I mean, you get different quality of. I don't want to say different quality because that's not.
It's different styles. It's all different styles.
That's a better way to put it.
Yeah, it's an anthology series in like every sense of the word. Yes. Although I wasn't sure if it was the same studio doing the animation because after watching the werewolf one, the dog soldier one. Oh, is that what it's called? I can't remember what it's called.
I think it was Shapeshifters.
Shapeshifters. Oh, okay. And the first episode, they had that sort of hyper realistic animation style, kind of like Blizzard. Not even like not a Blizzard thing. More like a cutscene like from Final Fantasy, for example, like trying to be realistic, whereas the farming one with the mechs, that was definitely a hyper stylized, more Blizzard-like animation cinematic style. And is that a wasp or is that a bumblebee? It looks pretty fat. Yeah, so I wasn't sure whether it was the same studio doing it all the time, but then I looked at the thumbnails for the other episodes, and they all look wildly different. Yeah. It just happened to be that the werewolf one and the first episode that I saw looked similar in terms of their animation style.
Absolutely. There's maybe one other between the one that I think Shapeshifters was the last one I saw. Like I said, I still have a few more to go, but some of them just are like one I just saw was completely 2D animated.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was. It's all great. It's all so good.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
And who makes it again? It's the guy who directed Deadpool or John Wick. No, that's not.
Tim Miller was the guy.
Or Tim Miller. I thought
John Wick. I don't know.
So because this is fuck. Anyway, I just painted myself into a corner. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of who makes it, I'm not sure.
No, who makes it? Like each are made by different studios.
Yeah, exactly.
But who is like the program directors? Oh, it's Tim Miller.
Is it Tim Miller? Nice.
And I also thought it was somebody else. It was Tim Miller and David Fincher.
Fincher's involved.
Yeah, he's an executive producer. Huh. So it's like definitely interesting, and I definitely recommend it. I haven't seen them all, but I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a few more to go.
Yeah.
Totally worth a watch if you're looking for something easy and quick on Netflix. That's for sure, and it's not something that's like too heavy hitting, really. Like, I mean, I guess they are, but it's not like watching like. Nisha wanted to watch like the Ted Bundy thing with
Zac Efron.
Yeah, one of those two. Anyways, I was just like, I have no interest in being depressed for the rest of the day. I'm good. I know enough about what had happened that I don't want to watch a reenactment of it.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's played out as mostly a drama, but it's not. It's heavy.
Yeah,
I've never seen it, but it's heavy.
No,
so
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, so what do I got here? Like I said, closing out a lot of that horror stuff, all those gaps in my horror knowledge. Hammer horror. Never seen. People talk about it all the time. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
About the ramifications of the Hammer horror movies, but never seen one in my goddamn life. So I went to close those out. So Hammer Horror is a production company, a British film production company. It was based in London, founded in 1934. The company is best known for a series of gothic horror films made from the mid-50s to the 1970s. and I'm starting with what's called the Gothic trilogy.
Okay.
So that's the Horror of Dracula, The Curse of Frankenstein, and The Mummy. Now, these names obviously mega familiar to a lot of horror fans. Universal came out with the original set of these movies in like the in the 30s and 40s. These guys, you can essentially see these guys as revitalizing that sort of pantheon of characters.
Right.
So when they came out in color. And I feel like this was color for the first time. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, for example, I started watching The Horror of Dracula. Mm-hmm. The title comes up, and blood splatters on the title. And it is red as red can be. And I'm like, this is the first time anybody has seen this in color. I feel like that's what I was like, where's this blood coming from? Whose blood is it? Nobody cares. They just splattered blood on that title, and they're like, look, color. So they were just really obsessed with the fact that it was in color. So I've seen The Mummy. I'm watching right now The Horror of Dracula, which is, and then I'll watch the Frankenstein one. But the interesting thing is here, where with the Universal movies, you had, Bela Lugosi, and you had
Boris
Karloff, yeah, and those guys here. You also have a similar dynamic with two guys returning for all these movies, and they are Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
And Christopher Lee is obviously famous for playing Dracula, and I've never seen him play Dracula until now, and it's great. He's really very good, and you can see why he was so popular. And there's obviously a ton of sequels here, but I'm kind of starting with this initial 3 to get to whet the appetite, and I'm liking them.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool. Their set design is a little too clean for me.
Some of it is not. My problem with it. I've only
so
seen
you've
clips.
seen?
I haven't seen full movies. I've only seen clips from them.
Okay.
And stills, and that was always kind of my problem with them. Whereas like the classic Universal horror
very
films,
gothic,
very gothic.
Yeah.
It just didn't look clean, and that's just a symptom of the technology at the time. Right?
I think they just the craft was evolving. Like I think that. Maybe that heavy sort of gothic, decrepit architecture, like thing, maybe was just out of fashion. Maybe. I don't know, but they were more modern stories, like because they came out so long after the Universal film. People wanted something new.
Sure.
But you're right; it is too. Some of the lines are a little too straight. Everything's a little too clean.
That's one thing I thought that The Mummy with like Brendan Fraser and them. I feel like they got that right in some regards. Like, I mean, it's still obviously polished. I mean, big Hollywood studio doing things in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
But to me, it looks far more, I guess you could say, rugged than like I've seen a little bit of like the Dracula Untold.
Sure. Yeah.
What was the other one they were trying to do? Like Van Helsing was like super streamlined.
Yeah, it was
like,
very clean.
Yeah, it was very clean. Whereas The Mummy kind of had a little bit more grit to it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
A nicer aesthetic. So
that's true.
That was something that I think that's kind of gotten me to not really approach the Hammer horror films. But
that's true.
You convinced me.
Yeah, no, it's. So here's the thing I like. You trade that type of sort of production design. What I trade it for is parlor scenes, man. I love a good fucking parlor scene. This is a weird thing to say, but listen, when there are just two guys, they walk into the parlor and it's immaculately decorated and it's like, it's very dramatic and they got the layered rugs and the fireplace is always roaring, and they got the big wooden oak desk there and like the trolley with the, with the whiskey or whatever and they're pouring. So would you like a drink? It's like, yeah, they pour out the drinks and they talk about strategy. They talk about, mythology or whatever research. It's almost like a procedural but taking place in like a really dope parlor. We do not have enough parlor scenes these days. I feel like they fell out of fashion at some point. I think it would just happen all the time.
Yeah.
And we just simply don't do that anymore. But we got to bring the parlor scene back, man, cuz they are in like, I mean, The Mummy has a few great parlor scenes. I just love this shit. I love the set design. I love the conversations. I think the parlor scene is really like a lost art.
I think the Hateful Eight is basically a 2.5 hour
parlor scene. Yeah, that's why I did like that movie.
Yeah.
But like that's kind of one of the things where I'm like, the gothic architecture, but give me a fucking parlor scene. I'm doing all right. Scenes. Yeah. But the other thing is that they're more graphic, right? Like they're way more violent. There's a lot more blood. There's a lot of bosoms a lot of heaving bosoms in these movies. So yeah, I think it was just pushing that evolution of horror,
Right.
kind of pushing it along to a more sort of violent, visceral level. So I'm having a lot of fun with that.
I'll have to look at that. Like I said, I've only seen bits and pieces. I've never actually sat down and watched a full
Some of
movie.
the stories are actually quite interesting because they're very different than the original stories. A cool fact, but most people probably know this, but I love the fact that Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee were both prominent characters in the Star Wars mythology, right?
Yeah.
So Peter Cushing played Admiral Tarkin in A New Hope, and then he returned to play Zombie Tarkin in Rogue One, which was genuinely awful and terrifying. And
also something they discuss in VFX artists react to.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Do they like it or do they not?
I think the problem with him was that his face, the skin, was a little bit too. It didn't stretch and compress the way that skin naturally does.
Right.
They basically
feeling like I'm seeing a skin problem.
Yeah. Skin's hard to nail.
Kind of like,
Skin's hard to nail because you can get the textures right, but if the textures aren't, squishing and squashing and everything, squishing in every which way.
Can you imagine being a VFX artist whose your entire job is to simulate skin?
Yeah.
And when you're just having a conversation with someone, all you're doing is looking at their skin. Like that's it. That's all. That's what I'm doing right now.
I know. Now that we're talking about it, I'm looking at how the light's reacting to the skin on your cheek there. No, I know it's kind of crazy, but yeah, they talk about that in that. Sorry,
Yeah.
didn't mean to derail.
No, it's fine. Zombie Tarkin terrified me in Rogue One, and is one of the reasons I've never revisited that movie.
I slept through it.
Yeah, I've slept through it. And you woke up, you saw Tarkin, you're like, I'm having a nightmare.
No, it was literally like I sit down. This was after like 9 beers.
No, it's disgusting.
And then we go into the movie, and I'm like, I'm ready to watch this movie. Mads Mikkelsen comes out. I'm like, this is awesome. And then I wake up, and Vader's murking everybody. I'm like, what's happening? What movie am I watching?
You're watching a trailer for Battlefront at this point.
But I think that's why the Vader thing in that movie was so awesome to me, because I'm like, that's the only thing I remember. I revisited it after, and it was a pretty mad movie. But
yeah. So yeah, Peter Cushing played Admiral Tarkin, but Christopher Lee played Count Dooku in Episode 2 and 3, and he's the only one with the designation of Count in the entire Star Wars universe. Obviously done on purpose.
Yeah.
Because Christopher Lee is famous for playing Dracula in the Hammer horror films.
Right.
So, just a fun little tidbit there.
He also had a metal band, didn't he?
He did,
but
not even like I feel like it was in his older age, like when he was like 80.
80s.
Yeah, he had like a metal band. So,
to look that up
and
later.
obviously he played Saruman in Lord of the Rings, and Christopher Lee has a long distinguished career, as does Peter Cushing. But these guys are basically like horror royalty, and it's coming from the Hammer horror films.
Who did Cushing play in the Hammer horror films? Was he?
So
Van
he was
Helsing?
he was Van Helsing.
I thought so. He looks Van Helsing. Yes.
Yeah, and he was and I can't remember the character's name now, but in The Mummy, he's the obviously the guy who one of the few folks who helps dig up the tomb. But yes, so yeah, that's kind of that's like Hammer horror is if you're into horror, I feel like that's something that you've probably already seen. I'm late to this party, but I'm also watching them in my living room on the projector because they're not. I mean, they haven't been remastered. Like, there's no reason to watch them on my 4K TV. It doesn't make any sense. But I love watching them in the living room where I can have the lighting exactly the way I want it. It's all very like warm, low lighting, and like there's a rug on the floor, but there's a part of it that doesn't have any furniture on it, so I get to like, put some pillows on the floor, like lie on the floor, and kind of like watch this movie on a larger than life screen, basically the wall of my house. I'll never have a TV that big, so the quality and the projector is not the best quality. It's not a HD projector, even. But just watching them at that size and with the grain of the film and everything, it just really transports you to that time.
Yeah.
So I've really enjoyed not only just watching those movies, but just watching them in my living room on the projector. It's been a real blast. So
dope.
Yeah.
Well, we've done about 40 minutes on this. We've done about almost an hour.
Really?
Yeah. This is we're clocking in right now on this part is 40 minutes, and the last one was about 16. So what do you want to do? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah,
Or did you have something else?
I mean, I had more stuff. Yeah, but
we can even do another episode after this. You wanna do that?
Yeah, I mean, like more shoot the shit episodes. Yeah. I mean, we could just keep going.
We're very interesting.
Yeah, we could just keep going.
Okay.
And then chop it up.
Yeah, we'll chop it up here, and then we'll just keep talking after.
Yeah.
So we'll say bye for this episode, and we'll see you in the next episode where we haven't changed our positions, clothes, or opinions.
Yet, it takes place days later.
Weeks.
Weeks later.
Weeks. Not doing another May. That was fucked. Sadeep, if you're listening to this, you shithead, we've got to do Pet Cemetery. I didn't pay for, what was it, VIP tickets to go see Pet Cemetery to not review it. So if you're listening to this right now, you were a friend of the show. If you want to stay there, you better pick a time and date and stop traveling and doing whatever it is you do. You slippery bastard. Anyways, thanks for listening, folks. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching.
Take care, guys.
Please subscribe and like and comment. Sadeep, don't fuck around.
Sadeep's not leaving a comment, that's for sure.